In this tutorial, we will take a look at the array command in AutoCAD. This is the icon for the array command. You can also type array or use the alias AR. There are two different kinds of arrays. There's a rectangular and a polar array. We'll start with the rectangular array first. Before we do, I'll create some objects to array. I'll create a rectangle, and I'll select the first corner point at the lower left. Then, use relative coordinates, type the @ symbol, then 50, 30. Enter. The rectangle has a length of 50 and a height of 30. Now I'll use the offset command to make the object more interesting. I'll set the offset distance to 5, select the rectangle, and click inside. I'll also offset the inner rectangle, and press Enter. We'll use these objects to demonstrate the rectangular array. If I click on the array icon, the array dialog box opens. The array type is set to rectangular. And let's say that we wanted to create a 3x5 array. So, you enter the number of rows here and the number of columns here. This window lets you see the number of objects that will be arrayed. Now, I'll specify the offset distances and directions between each row and column. I will make both distances so that I get a spacing of 20 between the objects. For the row offset, the height of the largest rectangle was 30, so I'll add 20 to that to get the correct spacing, which would make it 50. Entering this as a positive number means that the arrayed rows will be above the original object. If I made it negative, then the rows would appear below the original object. I'll switch back to positive. Now for the column offset, I'll enter 70 to get a gap of 20 between each column. In the same way, if I choose a positive number, I'll array to the right. If I made this negative, I would array to the left of the selected object. I have not yet selected the objects to array. I'll click on this button and select the rectangles with a window. Press Enter, and you can see that 3 objects are selected. At this point, I can preview the result. So I'll select the Preview button, and if I wanted to change the array parameters, I could select Modify to take me back to the dialog box. But this is what I wanted, so I'll click Accept. That is how to create a rectangular array. Now we'll look at creating a polar array. First, I'll undo everything that I've done up to now. I'll draw a circle, and then a smaller one. The center point of this circle will be at the quadrant of the larger circle. So I will turn on the running object snaps. The quadrant snap is not active, so I will look at the settings. Turn on quadrant and press OK. Now I'll create my circle, then draw a line and snap to the quadrants of the smaller circle. Enter. For the polar array, we are going to array this circle and this line about the center point of the larger circle. So, choose the array icon and switch from a rectangular to a polar array. Now I'll start by selecting the objects to be arrayed. Select the circle, and a line, and press Enter. Next, I'll specify the center point of the array. So I'll select the center point of the large circle. Let's say I want 12 items total. This includes the original item. And in this case, I will array the selected objects throughout the entire 360 degrees of the circle. Notice that I've got the Rotate Items as Copied box checked. This means that the horizontal line will be rotated as it's being arrayed. So let's look at the preview. We have a total of 12 items that have been rotated as they were arrayed about the center of the larger circle. Now I'll select Modify, and at this time I will increase the number of items to 50. You see the effect in the preview window. Now I will make the angle -180 degrees. What this means is that we will array in this direction and will only go halfway around the circle. Let's see what this looks like. We have 50 items arrayed 180 degrees in the negative direction. And now I'll select Modify to go back. Notice that there are different methods of specifying the polar array. You can base the array on the number of items, the angle to fill, and the angle between items. I'll keep the current method, and then make this 9, and the angle -270 degrees. Finally, I will uncheck the Rotate Items as Copied option. So, when I preview, it looks like we've got something wrong. This is because we are no longer rotating the copied items. What is happening is that the left quadrant point on each of the arrayed circles is being centered about the large circle. But what we want is the centers of the arrayed circles to be centered about the large circle. To fix this, we need to change the base point of the items that we are arraying. I'll select Modify, then I'm going to click on the More button. Under the Object Base Point, I will uncheck Set to Object's Default. Then, I choose a base point, the center of the small circle. And now, let's look at the preview. This is what I wanted. So I'll accept. This completes the tutorial on using the array command. We looked at both rectangular and polar arrays.